pages, separate books to write things. The perfect ones are those you can haul around easily in your bag. Write down things. Having a to-do list helps you to make things much easier and more organized. This will also minimize your chances of forgetting and neglecting your duties. Make a list every morning in order of the priority of what you plan to do. Urgent, important, necessary. Such a list will help you to avoid procrastination all year round. Month-by-month plans. If you wish to accomplish several goals this year, it will help a great deal if you make monthly plans up to 3 months ahead of time. Although you should leave room to accommodate changes, having plans and goals will make it faster and easier to achieve success. At the end of the year, you can sit down and evaluate how much you managed to achieve. Now, don't forget to start making those crucial phone calls and appointments. If you have good proposals, write them down and have them ready as soon as possible so that you can book presentation appointments. The sooner you do this, the better you'll know where you stand, so that if particular plans do not work out, you may move on to the next ones. Persist in your endeavors without letting up, so that by this time next year, you will look back with satisfaction. This has been Self-Care Tips. Have a happy new year.
Christmas is a time for family, fun, and entertainment. This holiday season, KBC Channel 1 brings you exciting shows filled with laughter.
Mila, Mila on the wall. Who is the beautiful among them all? Yes, and that's me.
Love.
Because I love you.
Forever, Ines.
Action.
Of course you lied to me.
Drama. And heartwarming moments. Keep it KBC Channel 1 for wholesome family entertainment.
This could be your sister, brother, or you. Say no to gender-based violence. Say no to GBV. Protect them. Report any incident on toll-free line 1195. This message is brought to you by the Government of Kenya.
Is the 28th of December. The year is 2021. 3 days to go to the new year.
And the new year comes with resolutions right here on Prime Edition. Every Monday and Tuesday, we will be bigger and better.
That's right. KBC Prime Edition begins right now. Pressing for a showdown, UDA allied MPs storm out of committee meeting on political parties bill ahead of tomorrow's sitting.
No reprieve yet. COVID-19 positivity rate at 32.4% as a number of countries tighten restrictions.
For example, from 2018 to date, has spent a total of 28.5 billion shillings on providing free books to every child in this country.
And in readiness for Term 3, Education CS promises to release funds next week as schools reopen. Well, thank you for joining us from wherever you're watching in Nairobi, Kenya, and around the world. My name is Mboya.
My name is Purity Museo. Welcome to the broadcast. Byron Abuli is our sign language interpreter tonight at KBC Channel 1 News, at Purity_Museo, at Mboya24. The hashtag to use tonight is Prime Edition. We are live on all our social media platforms. Feel free to engage us.
Well, let's get straight to our top story. And the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee sitting turned into a confrontational session between members of parliament allied to the United Democratic Alliance UDA and those allied to the Azimio la Umoja movement.
At least 9 members allied to UDA who had amendment proposals to the political parties bill stormed out of the meeting, saying they had no faith in the committee that had been tasked to harmonize the amendments.
Now, the committee, however, proceeded to consider amendments of the members present and resolved to recommend rejection of proposals of members who walked out.
Kevin Washira begins our broadcast tonight.
Please use your sergeant at arms to enforce order here. Use your sergeant at arms.
Point of order. Chair, point of order.
Tempers flared in the National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee sitting as MPs allied to UDA faced off with MPs allied to Azimio la Umoja movement over procedure to consider amendments. At least 8 MPs allied to UDA contested the presence of the Registrar of Political Parties and Office of Political Parties Disputes Tribunal and refused to proceed with consideration of the amendments.
Personally, I will not be happy to execute my amendments when stakeholders were their day as on the public participation.
We should not put a lot of premium on the fact that the registrar and these other groups are here. These people are always here, including in the plenary, by the way.
I have already ruled that the stakeholders here, right, will not participate in your meeting because they have not brought any, right? They had brought in other memoranda.
So then I will leave, and then you allow me to execute my amendments on the floor.
That's correct. And so is me, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, my amendment remains.
You know, Chair,
let it be on record.
Chair,
let it be on record that I also not participate in a sham of a process, just like the public participation of a sham.
Parliament.
I've also left. My amendments meet you tomorrow. Who else is leaving?
Committee Chairperson Muturi Kigano defended the decision to invite the 2 stakeholders, saying it was informed by the Speaker's communication but directed they will not contribute. Unsatisfied with the ruling of the chairperson, the 8 MPs allied to UDA stormed out, saying they will prosecute the amendments on the floor on Wednesday. The meeting proceeded after 2 hours of confrontation and considered amendments of MPs who remained. The committee prevailed on Lugari MP Ayub Savula to change his amendment that sought to reduce the period for parties to form coalition party from 6 months to 4 months to general election. Further, the committee also prevailed on Ugenya MP David Ochieng to drop his proposal that sought to have membership of coalition party include independent persons. The committee resolved to recommend rejection of amendments by MPs who stormed out of the meeting in a report to be considered by the House tomorrow.
The House proceedings having been adjourned and the Speaker having made the communication requiring harmonization,
and the clerical department of parliament having requested those members to come physically for that purpose, where such a member refuses to avail himself of this opportunity, that member cannot be entertained by the House on those amendments.
It is very primacy for members to refuse or fail to prosecute their cause just because they are people who are not members of parliament, and this is a public hearing. Only on that, it means that you didn't have any substance, and you are using this as primacy grounds to stultify the proceedings of this committee.
Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Now, on to politics. Deputy President William Samoei Ruto has asked members of parliament to reject fraudulent laws. The Deputy President said politicians known for political conmanship were now pushing the Political Parties Amendment Bill of 2021 to defraud Kenyans.
Ruto asked MPs not to be used to pass the bill that is designed to undermine the independence of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and political parties.
The Deputy President, who spoke in Turbo, Uasin Gishu County, asked proponents of the bill to stop political conmanship. The Deputy President asked them to withdraw their scheme of installing an imperial registrar of political parties who will take part some roles from IEBC and also manage party nominations.
Nataka niwaulize wabunge wapitishe sheria ambayo itaweka Wakenya pamoja. Wasipitishe sheria kwa sababu ya mambo ya kutengeneza ukora. Tunataka sheria ambayo inasimamia haki ya kila Mkenya.
The Deputy President said it was in bad faith to have the registrar of political parties manage parties nominations.
Toeni utapeli wa kujaribu kuhamisha kazi ya IEBC iende kwenye ofisi ya registrar. Toeni hiyo utapeli kwanza, ndio hata tuwaamini. Toeni mambo ya utapeli ya kujaribu kutumia ofisi ya registrar eti kuendesha mambo ya nominations ya vyama. Vyama ziko huru kusimamia nominations zao na vile wanataka kuendesha mambo yao kama chama.
Mosop Member of Parliament Vincent Tuwei and his Turbo counterpart Janet Sitienei vowed to oppose the bill in Parliament, saying it undermines the rights of the people. The DP promising to implement a universal healthcare coverage system within the first 100 days in office if he ascends to the presidency.
Ni lazima tupange vile kila mtu Kenya atahesabika kama Mkenya, sio watu wengine kuwa wanajivunia na wengine kuwa wanavumilia.
Ruto said Kenyans will pay a percentage of their income as opposed to a fixed amount to ensure everyone pays a fair amount. The Deputy President asked Kenyans to reject a puppet leader picked by a few leaders to look after their interests. He urged Kenyans to elect a leader who has their interest at heart. Beatrice Getonyenge-Tich, Prime Edition.
From politics, let's now look at that story that has made headlines over the last 2 years. Kenya recorded 1,504 COVID-19 cases Tuesday from a sample of 4,636 tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate now stands at 32.4%.
And the total confirmed positive cases are now at 285,654. No deaths were reported Tuesday. The cumulative fatalities remain at 5,364. As of December 27th, 2021, close to 9.6 million vaccines had been administered across the country.
Well, let's stay with that COVID report. And the world is grappling with tightened measures as the Omicron variant of the coronavirus continues sweeping through. More than 2,200 flights have been scrapped, with Chinese and the United States destinations being the worst hit.
France has announced tighter restrictions, and from 3rd of January, remote working will become compulsory for those who can, and public gatherings will be limited to 2,000 people for indoor events.
That's right. 110 British tourists were denied entry into Austria at the Innsbruck airport over non-adherence to updated COVID restrictions.
According to FlightAware data tracking website, more than 2,200 flights were scrapped on Monday, with Chinese and U.S. destinations being the worst hit. The U.S. airline says disruption is due to crews testing positive or isolating. Hong Kong is banning all South Korea's Korean Air flights for 2 weeks after positive cases among some of their rivals. The majority of the flights cancelled on Monday by Chinese companies include China Eastern, which cancelled more than 420 flights, and Air China with more than 190 cancellations. Airports in Beijing and Shanghai appear to be the worst affected, with nearly 300 cancellations combined. Meanwhile, the hardest hit U.S. companies are United and JetBlue. U.S. authorities are also monitoring dozens of cruise ships hit by COVID cases while sailing the country's waters, with several of them reportedly denied port in the Caribbean. Elsewhere, British travellers arriving in Innsbruck for skiing holidays in the Western Tyrol region on Sunday were met by what some of them described as chaos, as the airport implemented new rules that came into effect on Christmas Day for arrivals from the UK, the Netherlands, Denmark and Norway because of the spread of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. The restrictions currently displayed on the Austrian UK Embassy website require anyone over the age of 12 to have a third COVID vaccination and a negative PCR test taken within 48 hours of arrival. Under the previous rules, a negative PCR test had to be taken within 72 hours of arrival. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Away from the global pandemic to education matters, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says the government is considering to increase grant capitation to primary schools to ensure learning is on course. Speaking in Mombasa while presiding over the official opening of Kenya Primary School Heads Association 17th Annual Delegates Conference, the CS assured the school heads that the Treasury will channel the funds to schools next week when schools open for the third term.
Magoha has assured the school heads government commitment in improving the education sector by ensuring all schools have the required textbooks, adequate funding and infrastructure in place.
Issue of the stimulus package for the 625,000 desks, of which you received just about half for your primary schools. The cooperation that we found from you individual head teachers to ensure that there was no hanky-panky business from anybody is fully appreciated by none other than His Excellency the President. And as a result of that, we are looking for ways and means of repeating that exercise again during 2022.
On competence-based curriculum CBC, the CS dismissed critics saying it's learner-centered and prepares the pupils with the required skills for the competent job market.
One of the most important transformative things that the government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has introduced is this competency-based curriculum. It is also wrong to say that it is not funded. The government, for example, from 2018 to date has spent a total of 28.5 billion shillings on providing free books to every child in this country, including those ones doing CBC.
Professor Magoha also lauded teachers' efforts in covering the syllabus on time in the crash program after the normal calendar was disrupted by COVID-19.
There are neighbors who have closed schools for close to 2 years. In Kenya, because of you and your dedication, that dedication cannot be paid for. But the satisfaction I've got doing my work here, and I believe that's what we are also getting. We crowded the syllabus for you. By the grace of God, last year, we gave the exams, and you saw the results. So there was a transition which everybody, including the naysayers, appreciate.
He has, however, urged the teachers to brace themselves for the next year's academic calendar, as it will entail March exam assessments.
This year I'm going to very politely demand a pound of flesh from you because of COVID-19. In March, we expect you to mount one examination for 2021. By the grace of God, it will come to pass.
KEPSHA National Chairman Johnson Nzioki assured parents that school heads will ensure the CBC is assessed seamlessly and pupils get their worth.
And about the competence-based curriculum, we are in agreement that all the head teachers are assuring the ministry that they will support full implementation of the CBC.
The teachers promised to continue engaging parents and pupils on challenges brought by COVID-19 for better outcomes.
Our children are having a lot of pressure because of the change of the timetable, mostly those who are going to sit for KCPE. But we are trying to explain them and the parents to understand and adjust to the new changes in the country.
The children should be inducted and got to the line, got back to the rail by the parents. Even the church should play a role. The church should play a role in motivating and even nurturing the youth.
For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mondiga.
Well, that item on education brings us to our first break right here on KBC Prime
Stay
Edition.
Stay with us. We still have plenty more coming up shortly.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya mtu ni watu, bonyeza *811*961#.
Mungu akitaka kukubariki atatumia watu. Maombi yako akitaka kuyajibu atatumia mtu. Hauwezi ukakaa maisha ya kujitenga. Hapana, sababu unahitaji watu. Angalia, toka nje, wacha kukaa peke yako. Toka, kutana na watu. Jumuika na watu, penda watu, furahia watu, zungumza na watu. Baraka.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya mtu ni watu, bonyeza *811*961#. *811*961#.
Welcome back. Now, there's a medical appeal here from a single mother of two from Kiambiu Informal Settlement. She is appealing to well-wishers to assist her raise 3 million shillings for her 1-year-old baby's open heart surgery. In India, baby SCARLET Msubega was diagnosed with congenital heart defects that left her with a large hole right at the center of the heart. The doctors say that it is important that the baby gets the surgery before he hits 2 years.
Anne Sylvia Likondo is a mother in distress. In her hands is 1 year and 8-month-old baby SCARLET having her lunch through a feeding tube. The baby was born healthy, but during her second clinic visit, she had lost significant weight. The mother would then learn of the devastating news.
Masista kaniambia huyu mtoto kama unamnyonyesha vizuri na aongezi kilo, maybe anaweza kuwa na shida ya roho. Sasa kwenda Kenyatta December akafanya picha ya echo. Wakaniambia ako na shimo kwa roho. Sasa Kenyatta akaniambia nikae hapo nile kama wanaweza fanya hiyo surgery. That time alipata kilo ilikuwa iko chini. Alikuwa 7 months alikuwa na 3.3.
The congenital heart defect baby SCARLET Msumbega is suffering means she can only take milk through the mouth. Everything else she feeds on has to be blended. After several checkups, the doctors advised that she be flown to India for medical attention.
So ndakaniambia tu mama tutakupea discharge, lakini ndio utafute pesa so mpeleke mtoto wako nje juu hapa Kenya surgery hata haiwezi.
The doctors have advised that she gets the much needed surgery before she gets to the age of 2, and with just 4 months left, the mother who had quit her numerous menial jobs and shifted attention to her baby is in desperate need of help.
Mtu wangu ni mgonjwa, nahitaji kwenda nje. Sasa nilikuwa naomba tafadhali mnisaidie niweze kupata hiyo pesa. Angalau afanye operation na kuwe sawa kama watu wengine. Nitashukuru sana. Ndio nahitaji pesa mingi na mwenyewe siwezi. Sasa tukishikana wote pamoja kidogo yako itasaidia.
To assist baby Scarlet to get the crucial open heart surgery, please send your contribution to paybill number 8044295. Account name Msumbega Medical Fund. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
You can also easily reach out to KBC to reach that needy woman. To some other news, chaos erupted at the Bukhungu Stadium in Kakamega County after a section of youth disrupted a media briefing at Batsoso elders. Rather, the meeting was by Batsoso elders, and the youth believed to be the Orange Democratic Movement ODM allies stormed the event and confronted the group, alleging that they were planning to block the much-hyped Luya Unity Convention at the stadium. And of course, ODM leader Raila Odinga is expected to grace the event and advance his Azimio la Umoja movement. The event is scheduled for the 31st of this month.
Chaotic and ugly scenes erupted in Kakamega after Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi's key associates clashed with Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga's over the Luya convention slated for this Friday. Trouble started after a group of elders from the Botsotso sub-clan converged at Bukhungu Stadium for a press briefing.
Tumesikia wenzetu wengine wanasema hawatakuja, wana ANC sijui wana Ford Kenya hawatakuja, lakini Bukhungu we were there together na tukapitisha BBI. Leo I want to appeal to my brothers, particularly Musalia na Wetangula ambao nimesikia wanatashusha na mkutano huu. In the words of Prophet Isaiah, please come, let us reason together.
This as a section of legislators from ANC party urged the COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli to seize the plan to name preferred candidates in Luyaland in the next general election at Bukhungu Stadium on 31st December 2022.
Atwoli alisema mwenyewe ati yeye ndiye ataamua ni nani atapitishwa kwenye sehemu zote za mkoa wa Magharibi, kuanzia wa magavana, maseneta, wajumbe na ma-MCA. Bwana Atwoli, we are now taking more than you can chew.
Former Nairobi County Speaker Beatrice Alachi and a section of Kakamega leaders urged the Luya community to rally behind the ODM leader.
Sisi tunaangalia tuwekwe serikali kwa maana miaka nenda miaka rudi tumepigia Raila Amolo Odinga kura. Sasa itakuwa anaenda state house tumkatae.
Excuse me. Now from chaos in Bukhungu, let's move to an attack in Samburu County, and security has now been beefed up in Pura Maralal area following an attack by armed bandits which left a police officer and a 60-year-old man dead. That happened on Friday. The deceased officer was part of a team that responded to the attack. The Maralal OCS was injured in the exchange of fire during the attack.
According to Samburu Central OCPD Alex Rotich, the daylight attack took place at Pura Market, where police had responded to a bandit attack. Maralal Police Station OCS Johnston Kitili Musyoki was injured on Friday at Pura, where they had gone to collect the body of a man who had been shot at the market that morning.
Waliwa mzee naitwa Lulmingani kwa soko ya Pura. Wakati ameua watu wametoka area hiyo yote, watu zaidi ya 5,000 wanalala msituni pande ya Malaso.
The OCS who was leading the team sustained a gunshot wound on his right thigh and is being attended to at Maralal Referral Hospital. Leaders have urged the government to beef up security in the region ahead of schools reopening next week.
Hakuna mtu anakuja, wanangoja tu kuchukua maiti. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali ikiwa itawezekana walete askari hapa sokoni.
Tufanye bidii ili amani iweze kurudiwa ama kurejea kabla hata shule kufunguliwa. Kwa hivyo tunaapili kwamba sote tufanye bidii, tuweke mikakati ya amani.
Inaomba wananchi ya sehemu hiyo wasichukue sheria mkononi mwao. Serikali iko.
According to the county government of Samburu, 3,587 people have fled the village and temporarily settled at Loboingare Trading Center for 2 days now. Elsewhere, police have been granted 8 days to hold Corporal Joseph Kamau Mudonga, who is accused of killing his boss, Sergeant Ayub Apollo, in Kedong Ranch on Christmas Day. Naivasha Senior Resident Magistrate SAMBURU rejected Mudunga's application to be released on bond, granting prosecution 8 days to conduct a ballistic analysis on the gun used and also conduct a post-mortem on the body of the deceased. Mudunga shot and killed Ayub Apollo on Christmas evening when he reported to work late and drunk.
Tuendelea kukaa pale. However, nimedirect ya kwamba through the welfare officer unaweza pata social psycho support by counseling or any other.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troy Njue.
To yet another unfortunate report here. 3 people have been confirmed dead at Kipkaren area along Eldoret-Malaba Road after inhaling petroleum fumes while attempting to siphon fuel from an overturned tanker. Firefighters from Uasin Gishu County were forced to use foam to clean the area to keep off those who were flocking the scene in numbers.
The tanker is said to have veered off the road while climbing the lane at Kipkaren area at around 7:30 last night.
Sijui ilishuwa pressure amelifanya nini. Ikafanya kama inashindwa kidogo, alafu kidogo ikaanza kurudi nyuma. So tukujua kama itarudi iende mpaka kwa mtaro, lakini tukadhania maybe itafaulu iende. Karudi nyuma kidogo, ikarudi nyuma kidogo, kufika pale ni kama ilishinda dereva kidogo kuicontrol.
And as it is common with many similar incidents, the locals flocked the scene to siphon fuel. But 3 of them were not lucky, dying after inhaling petroleum fumes. Lugari OCPD Bernard Ngungu, who confirmed the incident, said it was unfortunate that lives have been lost, while at the same time calling on the public to always stay away from accident scenes to avoid a repeat of the same. Among the dead included 22-year-old Dominic Koech, who had just graduated from Turbo Vocational Training College.
Kuambia watu mambo ya mafuta ikimwagika hata ikienda hii mtoni Kipkaren hakuna mwenye namsaidia, lakini challenge ingewezekana ichotwe ni sawa kwa sababu haitatumika kwa mahali popote, lakini shida mafuta inaua.
But not even the death of the 3 seemed to have scared locals, who kept flocking the scene scrambling fuel. Firefighters from Uasin Gishu County had to use foam to dilute the fuel and keep locals off. Beatrice Getonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Now, local transport and logistics company Modern Coast has clarified that its Mombasa-bound bus that burned down along Kakamega Eldoret Highway was not involved in a road accident as reported earlier. The company says that the fire was as a result of friction at the wheel level of the rear tire.
These were the scenes recorded on Monday evening after a Modern Coast bus caught fire at Bendera Center along Chavakali-Kapsabet Road. Contrary to reports on social media, in a statement, the operator says its bus encountered a section that had been narrowed after 2 saloon cars were involved into an accident.
Saloon mbili ndo zimekutana. Basi imekam after. Sisi tumeambia odere yote ya huko inawaka moto. Kiasi moto yote unaweza zima hivi na mguu, mwagie maji zima. Lakini odere ameassume.
According to a statement from the bus company, the ill-fated bus was trying to evade the two cars when one of the rear tires caught fire. This as even the passengers who were traveling in the bus narrate how they escaped death narrowly. The passengers who lost all their belongings in the inferno are, however, grateful to be alive. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Renowned Congolese musician and songwriter Lulendo Matumona, commonly known as General Defao, is dead. Defao, aged 62, died on Monday, December 27 at the La Quintine Hospital in Douala, Cameroon, where he was admitted. Defao was to celebrate his 63rd birthday on December 31st this year.
The music maestro, known for his song Salanoki, was in Cameroon, where he was to give a private concert ahead of the new year. But several hours before the show, he was seized with uneasiness in his room. Defao was taken to La Quintine Hospital, where he succumbed to reported complications allegedly arising from COVID-19. He was also diabetic. Musicians Ferry Gola and Fally Ipupa were among the first ones to convey their condolences, describing his demise as a loss for Africa. Born in Kinshasa on December 31st, 1958, General Defao started singing in 1978 as part of Orchestre Suka Muvema. He also had brief stints with Fogo Stars and Somo West before joining Grand Zaiko Wawa and later becoming an integral part of Chalk Stars. It was during this period that Defao honed his singing and songwriting skills, working with household names at the time like Ben Nyamabo and Bozi Boziana. Defao, in his quest to carve a niche for himself, quit Chalk Stars towards the end of 1990 and formed Big Stars with DJ Poster. Despite the troubles that he faced in past few years, Defao is still lauded as one of the finest Congolese musicians of his generation. After more than 10 years of exile in Kenya, Defao made his big return to his country, the DRC, on August 4, 2019. For Prime Edition, I'm Rahma Shanko.
May the legendary Congolese singer's soul rest in peace. Now, 8 people have escaped death narrowly, with scores injured in Matisi slums, that's in Kitale town, after a maize store collapsed this afternoon. Some of the injured included children in a nearby madrasa class. For this and more, news from the counties.
The store with over 4,000 bags of maize collapsed due to suspected poor structure, destroying adjacent madrasas for the Muslim faithful. Speaking after the incident, residents say they had raised an alarm over the quality of the building, saying it was a time bomb for residents.
Karibu makakumi ama makakumi na kitu. Na iko wakati tumesema hii store hajajenga mzuri, itakuja kulalia sisi rakabisha.
Trans Nzoia County Commissioner Sam Ojwang said investigations into the incident had already been launched.
Ikipatikana ya kwamba the standards za construction hazikuwa met, basi ikasababisha uzito wa mahindi, gunia za mahindi kuleta kuporomoka kwa ukuta huo, basi tutachukua hatua ambayo inatakikana.
Elsewhere, residents of Mudhara village in Juja, Kiambu County are living in fear of marauding hyenas from the nearby Kilimambogo forest that have so far killed 3 people alone this year. The latest victim is a 29-year-old man identified as Samuel Kang'ethe, who was killed last evening by a pack that attacked him on his way home from his manuals at a nearby quarry.
Tunataka kusaidiwa juu ya watoto wetu wanaumia huku. Hata kuna mwingine alikuliwa pale tu juzi.
Tuangalie hapo. Kwanza hapo pa wanyama tuangalie sana. Tuweze kuondolewa wanyama kabisa.
And Coast Regional Commissioner John Elungata has vowed to flush out all extremists involved in radicalizing of the youth, especially in Tana River County.
Hawa ni watoto wa kina nani ambao wanaenda huko kufanyiwa radicalization? Mzee, kama huyo mtoto ni wako na umsemi, utajua wewe ndio umemtuma huko.
Meanwhile, more than 200 youths from Thika constituency have graduated with different courses courtesy of CDF fund.
Next year, we are hoping that we can be able to multiply that number to about 1,000. The unemployment rate in Kenya is going to hit 80%, 90%. What are we doing here in these positions if we cannot create these jobs?
Finally, more than 600 vulnerable families in Ganda ward of Malindi constituency have a reason to celebrate during the festivities after a well-wisher donated foodstuff. Oscar Wanje decided to celebrate with orphans, widows and people living with disabilities and those in extreme poverty as a way of giving back to society.
Azimio hili limekuja kwa sababu ya ule upendo na ukarimu wenye ambao tuko nao kwa watu wetu.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ruth Wamboi.
My youth, my treasure. I will use it to positively build my country Kenya. Kenya all the way. Kujenga nchi ni wajibu wetu kama mayouth. Tujitokeze, tukae rada. This message is brought to you by the Government of Kenya.
The KBC Board of Directors, Management and Staff wishes all our esteemed listeners, viewers and clients Happy New Year and a prosperous 2022. We wish you peace, joy and prosperity throughout the coming year. Thank you for your continued support and partnership.
You're watching Prime Edition this Tuesday night. Byron Abuli is our sign language interpreter. Let's now get down to business. Selected malls in Nairobi have intensified implementation of government directives requiring patrons to show proof of vaccination against COVID-19 in order to access in-person services. A spot check by KBC revealed that specific shopping venues barred entry to those who could not produce proof of vaccination.
Ministry said it will be mandatory for Kenyans to show proof of vaccination against the coronavirus disease in order to access in-person services from government offices starting December 21st. However, the High Court stopped the directive on December 14th, pending hearing and determination of the case after a businessman filed a petition under a certificate of urgency seeking to bar the orders. However, this has not deterred a section of businesses from implementing the directive. On a spot check at the Junction Mall and the Hub Karen, the message was clear: no certificate, no entry. The management, however, locked out camera crews and were unavailable for comment. These developments come at a time when Kenyans are still looking to shop for the upcoming school month in order to beat the January back-to-school rush. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
While young people are being urged to venture into agribusiness instead of involving themselves with crime and idling, Tana River Governor Dado Godana says the government has invested heavily in farming across the country, urging Kenyans, especially the youth, to take advantage by engaging in farming activities.
People below the age of 25 account for about 60% of the African population, according to official statistics from the United Nations. The agency says there are about 1.8 billion young people between the ages of 10 to 24 in the world. Out of the estimates, Africa is home to over 200 million, and the rate is increasing and is expected to double by 2035. Tana River Governor Dado Godana says the agriculture sector holds high potential in providing job opportunities for the Kenyan youth. The governor says as an economic mainstay of most counties in the country, the sector has the potential to employ the growing number of unemployed young people as skilled and semi-skilled labor.
Wacha hizo shamba vijana wapewe. Komiti hawa vijana wafanye kazi walime. Usiwaache wakae idle.
Tana River County reported that it had received below average rainfall in the month of November 2021, something the county leadership says is due to climate change.
Lakini hawalimi, tinga ziko, mbegu ziko, ardhi iko. Wachimbe visima walime, lakini hawalimi.
Tana River County says it has invested heavily in farm machinery that can be hired to farmers across the county at a relatively lower fee.
And that's it for business. We take a short break. Coming up, sports news with Tom.
This could be your sister, brother, or you. Say no to gender-based violence. Say no to GBV.
The Amazons. I, Alejandro, take you, Diana.
For richer or for poorer.
To love and to cherish.
All the days of my life. I love you all. We love you. Cheers.
This message is brought to you by the government of Kenya.
Welcome to sports segment. I'm sitting in for the sports news anchor, and we start off with local football. AFC Leopards assistant coach Tom Juma says that the team is not afraid of playing league leaders Kakamega Homeboys on Wednesday. The Football Kenya Federation Premier League took a short Christmas break, but normalcy is set to resume Wednesday. The Western-based Chargers have been having a good run in the league and are the only unbeaten team in the Kenyan top tier. However, their recent form does not scare the former Kenyan midfielder, who believes his team is rapidly improving. The tactician has further stated that they have been training well despite the break and that the players are fresh and ready for the Bukhungu stadium trip. Still on football and across the borders, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have suffered another injury blow ahead of their 2021 African Cup of Nations AFCON opener against Egypt on January the 11th. Defender Abdullahi Shehu has emerged as an injury worry for Super Eagles interim manager Austin Eguavon ahead of the Egypt clash.
Abdullahi Shehu sustained the injury during the first half of Omonia Nicosia's 4-2 defeat to Apoel on Boxing Day. The right back felt discomfort after a battle with Apoel defender in the 34th minute and managed to continue playing until the 37th minute when he was replaced by Paris Satis. Shehu is expected to compete with Ola Aina and Chidoze Awaziem for the Super Eagles right back position at the AFCON, while Kenneth Omeruo could cover the right back, though it's not his natural position. The 28-year-old will now hope to recover on time before Nigeria tackle Egypt. The Super Eagles of Nigeria are in Group D alongside Egypt, Sudan and Guinea-Bissau. Daniel Mwendwa for Prime Edition Sports.
And on the global front, Liverpool will be looking forward to cut the gap between them